So it's raining and pouring and miserable outside. So my original plan today was to pull the box off the truck, slide the cab back, etc. So that plan went in the toilet because I'm not going to do that out in the rain. So what we're going to do instead is I want to get the front bumper off, and I'd like to get the rad support off because obviously I'm not going to use this rad support. So what I want to do is take this one off and see what I can do to make one out of the two that I have here now. So I got a Ziploc here, well, a box of them anyway, and a marker. And what I'll do is I'll mark everything where it came off so that when I put it back together, I know where everything came from and there's no guessing. And I've taken a bunch of reference pictures, which in this day and age of phone cameras and digital cameras and everything, there's no reason not to take a whole pile of photos so you know where everything goes later on. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get that stuff pulled off just because that's probably boring as hell to watch. And I'll film when we get into the meat and potatoes of everything here. So these S10 bumpers are really easy to take off. You can either take this end off of the support rod or you can pop it off the frame rail. And then you just have 4 bolts here. Once they're out, that's your bumper. Because they just come through right here and here. And you can see, hopefully on this end a little better, that you just have this end here. Same thing, they're just all carriage bolts. And that's the front bumper off. Now, one of the things they harp about a lot is the use of factory service literature. I am a huge proponent of factory service literature. Why? You cannot get better service information than the information that's provided in these manuals. And the years and years I struggled trying to repair things without proper service information. I wish I had been more on the ball about this stuff, but nobody told me. So I'm hoping that I'm telling you. And it's information you can use. One of the first things I spent money on this truck was a complete factory manual set. And it was $100 with shipping, tax, and duty off of eBay. And it provided me with the complete wiring diagram book, which has everything you need for wiring in this thing. All of it. That one's P truck, but there's your S and T truck, which this one, of course, is an S series. T would be a 4-wheel drive or a Jimmy, something like that. Factory service manual, light duty truck fuel, drivability and emissions manual, which as you can see, it also goes into the gas C and K models, and of course unit repair manual. Unit repair manual covers things such as differentials, steering boxes, you know, anything you may need like that. We'll go to the forward here, which should show us. Yeah, it's here somewhere. It also gives you all the option codes, which are kind of cool. But shows you how to rebuild your AC compressors, like, you know, any mechanical units on the vehicle. This is invaluable information. You cannot completely tear a vehicle apart like I'm going to be doing, put it back together, and expect it to run if you don't have some form of knowledge base. Now, have I torn apart a million S10s? No, I absolutely have not. So this is perfect, because should I run into, and I say should, but I mean when I run into an issue where I need some type of specification, I need to know how many fasteners are in it, I need to know, etc., it's right there. When I go to swap all the wiring between the cab from the other cab into this one, that wiring diagram book is going to become one of the handiest things I have here. And then when I go to get the Arnduke running, I'm going to need that sucker right there, because I'm sure I'm going to run into some type of corroded connector or corrosion inside a wire or something somewhere that I'm going to be able to find because I have that diagram. So for me, definitely a worthwhile investment. Okay, box is off, which is, well, it was a task all of its own. I built a little brace here to hold it on the cart, so, you know, it doesn't fall and kill me or something. Rad support's off, bumper's off, all that stuff's off. Next thing will be, pull the cab, and I'm going to slide it back on the frame here. Basically just sit it over the back axle. And what I'd really like to do, if I can figure out how to do it safely, is to roll the cab on its back, so I can do the floor pan. But honestly, that's not the end of the world. I still got to pull the interior out of the truck first and do a bunch of other stuff. So, and then we'll slide it back here and put it on the back of the frame. And then what I'll do is, while I'm working on the underside of the cab, I'll clean up the whole frame from basically right about here all the way forward to here, so that what I can do is, before I set the cab back down, I'll paint the firewall on it and paint all the frame and everything. so that everything under the cab is painted, everything up top here is all painted, and then I can just set the whole engine, or the whole cab right back down on the frame, and I can actually bolt it down, and then I can work from there forward and backwards. That's the plan as of the moment anyway. Now, as to whether or not that's what happens is a whole other story. So I got these from the wreckers, right? These body mounts. And that's because, like I said, this one here is rotten, right? So that's the replacement. So when I say it's rotten, I mean that's what supports the cab, or the box on this corner, right? And it's... there you go. So, be good if we could fix that properly. And then the cab mount that's up at the front there, it's shot too. So, I like to go ahead and replace it while I'm here too. And like I said, that way I can set the cab on it once and for all. And, yeah, that's pretty much the plan anyway. I'll get all this frame cleaned up in the back and clean up the front part of the frame. Now we can start screwing and gluing new parts on. Overall, it's pretty good. So, one of the things I didn't talk about, I walked right by it like an idiot. I got the T5. So, I got this one from Hank's Auto Wreckers. And they're in St. Clements, Ontario. And it is a T5 transmission, so the Borg Warner, from a 1993 S10. So to make it work in this truck, and fortunately for me, it's fairly complete. I'll have to get a dust shield for the front of it and some other little piddly stuff, but fairly complete. It was missing the shifter mount, but I had one. I just threw that shift knob on there for now and all that stuff just so it was there. I'll have to swap the tail housing and the output shaft. My truck being a 1987, the 82 to 89 S10s and S15s, they have a mechanical speedometer. And the 90 to 93s have an electronic speedometer. So, like I said, tail shaft, well, tail stock and the output shaft are what the primary differences are. So if I go ahead and swap those out, this will work exactly like an 87 transmission would have. Just in case the yoke is different on the front of the drive shaft, I found another yoke I had that'll fit. So we got a couple little things to do there to make that work, but I'd like to get that in the truck while I have the cab off, because that just makes life so much easier. So what I'll do is, luckily, Ryan still got the T4 that came in that cab, you know, out of that truck. So that's an 82, of course, like I said. So it has the mechanical output shaft that we need and the mechanical tail stock. So all I got to do, I'm just going to borrow it, and Ryan said he's cool with it. I'm just going to swap the two tail shafts around and everything so that he ends up with the electronic T4 and I end up with my mechanical T5. And then we can put this in the truck, and that gives us overdrive for the highway.